years ago, I was working with an organization. They had a really important mission, good people, strong culture, and they had just promoted one of their best employees into a management role. Such a common thing. We have a great employee, and we want to keep them around, so we want to promote them into that next job. She was exceptional at her job, detail oriented, reliable. Everyone respected her, everyone liked her. Leadership was thrilled that she was in this new position and they got to keep her around. 6 months later, she was completely overwhelmed. Her team was frustrated, and she was privately wondering if she'd made a mistake taking the promotion and maybe needed to start looking for a new job. This is the exact opposite of what the organization wanted to happen. Nothing had actually gone wrong with her. What had gone wrong was the assumption that being great at the work automatically prepares you to lead the people doing the work. Hear me when I say this. Those are two completely different jobs, regardless of the job. It is a completely different job to lead people than it is to do the work. Here's what I've learned after 25 years of working inside organizations. The most expensive leadership mistake most organizations make isn't a bad hire or a bad promotion. It's a good promotion handled without intentional development and training. You take your highest performer, you put them in a management role, you hand them a new title, and then you expect them to figure out the rest. They're a high performing person, and so they try. They do their very best. And they struggle. Most of them struggle. And we tend to either blame them or kind of ignore it and just hope it gets better. They're a high performer, so they'll figure this out, right? But they were a high performer at the job because they had been trained well. This issue doesn't get better on its own. The gap between being a great individual contributor and being an effective manager is real. It's significant. And this is the part I want you to hear. It's a closable gap. It just requires deliberate development. And I don't mean a one-day workshop or handing them a stack of books. A structured process that addresses both the mindset shift and the practical skills of leading people. So it needs to address both the way they think and what they actually do. So that's what I want to talk about today a little bit, is what that gap actually looks like and why it's so incredibly costly to organizations and what it takes to close that gap in a way that actually sticks. So this gap, we can also call it a trap. I like to call it the heroic manager trap. Most people who are great individual contributors are high performing individuals, and they're really good at doing the work. And so when we put them in the manager role, they want to be a heroic manager. They want to be the manager that outworks everybody else. And so they keep doing the work instead of leading the work. They rescue instead of coach, and they become the bottleneck. Everything has to go through them, and any balls that drop, they are trying to pick them up as fast as they can, right? They are trying to make sure that all the work gets done. And they are exhausted because where they had one job before, now if they supervise 5 people, they have 6 jobs because they have their own job. Plus, they're trying to manage and control every single task of all the other people that they supervise. They're frustrated. They become the bottleneck, and it's not even their fault. Nobody told them that their job had changed. The most important thing that a person who has been promoted into management needs to change about their mindset is recognizing that their job is now about managing and leading people, not the actual task. This is a clarity failure at the identity level. The new manager doesn't have clarity about what their real job is. Connection suffers because they are too busy doing to actually lead their people. Instead of providing clarity to their people about what they should be doing and what the boundaries are, what their decisions should be and shouldn't be, and instead of building those relationship connections with their people, they are just doing. They are just task, making it happen as fast as they can. Clarity and connection, the clarity times connection framework completely breaks down in newly promoted managers specifically. They are not sure necessarily where their work ends and the people that they supervise where their work begins. Therefore, they don't provide that clarity, that understanding to their people. They don't see connection as their job. They would like everybody who works for them to be a high performer like they were, regardless of whether they're connected. And the newly promoted manager really believes that their job is to make sure that all the work gets done. As long as they think their job is to make sure all the work gets done, they are just going to work and keep working. At some point, they have to recognize that their job is different, that they have a different job now. So, I want to give you 3 hints, 3 things that organizations can do immediately to start closing this gap. The first one is redefine the job. Supervision is the work now. That means when a manager looks at their calendar, that a good chunk of their time, maybe in many cases, 50% of their time, should be time that they are spending with the people they supervise. Team meetings, one on ones, evaluations, training and development. These things are now the job, not, not a side hustle, not a side thing that they're doing in addition to the work they were already doing. The main part of the job is that supervision, that management. Second thing organizations can do right away to close the gap, clarify standards before delegating, not after things go wrong. The biggest mistakes in clarity that people make, that leaders make and organizations make, is not giving people clear outcomes. So instead of telling somebody that works for you or telling a manager, this is the task, make sure this task gets done. We say this is the outcome. This is the standard. This is what it looks like for this work to be complete. And then we let them figure out their path to get there. When we clarify standards, we give people a little bit of freedom to actually do the work. The third thing that organizations can do right away to start closing this gap is help managers build relational rhythms. Relational rhythms look like regular one-on-ones, quick personal check-ins, etc. And understanding that these regular one-on-ones, team meetings, etc., are not just task check-ins. Every single time that a supervisor interacts with their people, there should be an element of clarity and an element of connection, an element of the work and an element of the relationship. So, if your managers are overwhelmed, if they are feeling completely out of whack because they can't seem to get all the work done, before you add more to their plates, ask them whether they were ever equipped to lead in the first place. Reflect on what sort of development has been provided to your managers and to your supervisors. Because providing training and development to your managers and supervisors and teaching them how to lead with clarity and connection in order to create commitment is a solvable problem. So if you are listening to this video and you're thinking to yourself, this is an issue we have. We definitely have managers and supervisors who are struggling because they're good at doing the work. They're great high performers, but we haven't really spent any time training them to lead and to supervise. I would love it if you would reach out to me. I have a manager development journey designed specifically to address that issue. So if that is something that you're struggling with, you don't have to figure it out alone. Reach out. I'd love to have a conversation and see if there's a way that I can help you train your managers and your supervisors to understand that clarity times connection equals commitment.